Side of town, and so my father knew that there would be only one way to survive. It would be to escape and try to go into the forest. And he tells my mother, Fega, let's go to the forest. Let's try to escape to the forest. My mother said, I have two little girls. I have my parents. I can't leave. It's too dangerous. You do what you have to do. So my father made a heart-wrenching decision and said, I have to go, and if you survive, go to this non-Jew who's in the forest, and his name is Ivan, and he'll know if I survived, and he'll know where I am. So my father took off the yellow patch that he had on his jacket, front and back, and walked through. They had already surrounded the small town of Manyevich, Ukrainian policemen, the Nazi, and with machine guns and guns to make sure that no Jew survives. My father took his shirt, put it out over his pants like a Ukrainian peasant, put a little basket of eggs under his arm, and walked as if he was very calm that he was going to his farm. And he walked out of town between these guns, and he was not killed. Came into the forest and then hid in the forest for a few days, and then went to Ivan. Meanwhile, he had heard that the entire city had been gathered together on Shabbos morning, Saturday morning. They went house to house and took every woman, man, child, and took them and shot them in a mass grave. So my father thought that everybody had been killed, and he wanted to do revenge. And so he went to Ivan and he said, Ivan, give me a gun, give me some bullets. And my father had been drafted in 1923 into Polish cavalry, and he knew how to shoot and knew how to ride a horse. So Ivan gave him 150 bullets, a rifle, 2 grenades, and took him to the partisans. There was a group of Jewish partisans in the forest. My father then went on bombing missions, blew up Nazi trains, and was taking revenge for his children and 25 members of his family that were killed. A few months later, he had heard that some relatives of his had survived. My mother, that Friday night, had gone across the street in this ghetto to her cousins to try to think of a plan of perhaps starting a fire, and in order to confuse the Nazis and to be able to escape into the forest. But she couldn't find her cousins at home, and a Ukrainian policeman took out a gun and was going to shoot her on Friday night. And she said to him, you're going to kill us all tomorrow. Why are you wasting a bullet tonight? And he put down his gun, and she was afraid to cross the street again because it was full of Ukrainian Nazis ready to kill any Jew who broke curfew. So she hid in a barn. She ducked into a barn, fell asleep in the straw, and in the morning they went house to house, barn to barn. And my mother says, I saw them. They didn't see me. By Sunday, the entire city was quiet. It was a ghost town. There was nobody alive. My mother waited another day. She heard nothing. And finally, she went out and she discovered that her cousins had survived. Also, had been hiding. And she went into the forest with them. And for the next few months, they survived on berries. When my father heard that there were some relatives. He wasn't expecting my mother. So my mother weighed 80 pounds. He carried her back to the partisan camp, and she got well, and she became the nurse. And my father continued going on missions to bomb Nazi trains. If you saw the movie Defiance, that's exactly what my father did. And my mother cooked and took care of. There were 250 Jews hiding in the forest, and another 250 fighters. They survived 2 winters in the forest, and miraculously they came out of the forest. My brother was born in 1944, in December of 1944. My parents came to America and ended up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, of all places. They had an aunt in Milwaukee. And I was born in 1947. Everything to me was real. My father told the stories, but he told another story, a major story. And the story was, now he comes to America and he can't find work because every Friday he gets fired because he wants to keep Shabbos. So my father, my mother decide that they'll keep Shabbos. My father won't work on Shabbos, and he'll become a peddler. And he'll set his own hours. So my father would come home black from dirt, from schlepping tons of metal. He would go into the basement and wash up, and then he would come into the house and take a shower, and then he would put on a suit and a tie, and then he would sit down at the Shabbos table and he would start singing. And he said, these songs is a way we beat the Nazis. And he would sing songs in Yiddish. It's a good to sein a Yid. It's so good to be a Jew. It's so good for me. It's a pleasure to be a Jew. And I grew up in a family that was happy, it was Jewish, and although I went to public school in Milwaukee, my Jewish identity was very strong, and my parents instilled that it's a pleasure and a pride to be a Jewish person. After losing everything, they did not lose their spirit, and they are my heroes.